Welcome, friends, to the Park Life Podcast. I'm Janelle, and this is my co host.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike. Welcome.
And we are doing our third episode and our second part of our crowd series. And that's what we're going to talk about. And it's going to be on Genie Plus, and individual lightning lanes. I think
Yes,
I got
those
that.
are topics that a lot of people hear about, and we tend to get probably the most questions about Genie Plus of anything related to Disney.
I think so too. And this is going to piggyback off of our crowds discussion that we had in the second episode of the podcast, which was filled with a lot of information on just how to figure out crowds and crowd calendars and what the value of that is. So hopefully now we can talk about the value of Genie Plus, maybe go over some pros and cons, and see if it's worth it for you and your family, or you as an individual just going to the park solo.
Yes. So, if it's all right, Janelle, I think the way I'd like to kick it off then is
Okay.
I want to read Disney's official label, if you will, of what Genie Plus is. So
Okay.
we
That
can
sounds
share
wonderful.
share that, and then we could actually get into what it really means and how it's usable and effective for folks. So, and I'm going to read this so I don't get it wrong. But this is the official Disney language on Genie Plus.
Okay.
It's a service that lets you use Lightning Lane entrances at select attractions and experiences. Now, Disney says this: on average, guests can enter 2 to 3 attractions or experiences per day. Footnote that because we'll talk about that here
Right.
pretty soon. Genie Plus provides digital downloads of select Disney Photo Pass attraction images taken in the park on the day of your purchase. That's an important thing, and we could talk about that a little bit more too. I think that gets glossed over when people talk Genie Plus. Um, in order to get started, you need to have the latest version of My Disney Experience app on your phone. You should explore Genie Plus before your visit to make your time most effective. See what attractions offer what's called Lightning Lane entrances, and we'll talk more about that. Make sure you've connected everybody in your travel party on your family and friends list in My Disney Experience app so that when you're using Genie Plus, it's effective for everyone. So that's kind of the high level Disney official description of Genie Plus, and then a little bit about getting started with it.
Okay. I mean, I think they did a good job as far as covering all their bases,
Yeah,
as usually Disney does.
absolutely. So forget about the official language. Let's just kind of talk in general. What the heck is Genie Plus? What does it offer somebody? And we'll talk about how they can get it, but let's talk about what it offers.
Okay.
So I will take a stab at that. Um,
Okay. Let's
if,
hear
if
what your version is.
Yes. So if you're a tenured Disney World traveler, been there over the years and years and years, you will remember things like Fast Pass
Right.
and standby lines. So I've been to Disney dozens of times over several decades, and I remember back in the day when there was no such thing as Fast Pass or Genie Plus, and you just stood in a line to ride the ride. And you might wait 30 minutes, you might wait 10 minutes, you might wait an hour, depending upon the popularity of the ride and how crowded the park was at that particular time. So Genie Plus was the newest installment of a way to help shorten your length in wait on the rides. And it was born out of the COVID closure back in 2020. So Genie Plus, first off, is a paid service. You do have to purchase it. And each member in your travel party must purchase it in order to get the benefit. So, for instance, if Janelle and I were at the park together and I bought Genie Plus for me, she would not be able to get into the shortened line with me unless she also had Genie Plus purchased, and then we were connected as friends and family in my Disney Experience app.
Okay.
So
That would
the,
make me sad, just to let you know.
that you waited in the long line. So the Genie Plus service is a way to help shorten your length of time in rides. That's really the simplest way to put it. Now we
Right.
can get into the logistics about how you do that sort of thing, but let's start with just the simple basics. Genie Plus is a paid service that allows you to skip or bypass the standby line and get into what is called a lightning lane that will allow you to have a shortened wait for that ride or experience.
Right. So, do you think that there's any convenience into this? Like, the convenience of just being able to schedule your time on the app. I mean, I think that allows you to, and I don't know if we're going to go into this, but the convenience of saying, "Oh, I'm going to ride this ride over here. I'm going to eat lunch over here, and then I have another ride scheduled at a different time after lunch."
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll go into some of the details, but it certainly allows you to enjoy more attractions or rides throughout your day versus just standing in the standby line and waiting a little bit longer amount of time.
Right.
There is strategy around it, and we'll talk about the concept of stacking Lightning
Okay.
lanes through Genie Plus. But yeah, you absolutely need to take into consideration your entire park day. And what I mean by that is if you have a dining reservation, say at Crystal Palace inside the Magic Kingdom at noon, you don't want to have a lightning lane selection for a ride at 12:15, for instance, because you
Right.
won't. So there's strategy involved, and there's logistics wrapped around what is the rest of your park day. Again, if you've got a dining reservation and you've got a bibbity boppity boutique reservation for your little, you need to manage those things around selecting your Genie Plus ride lines.
Okay.
So let's talk about. So I mentioned it's a paid service, and yes, you have to purchase Genie Plus. Now, in order to purchase that in the current realm that Disney operates under, you can purchase it at any point in time between midnight and 7 a.m. typically of your park day. So if I was to go to the park tomorrow, I cannot buy Genie Plus at this point in time. I can only buy it as early as midnight tonight or midnight tomorrow morning, however you want to refer to that, and really up to any point in time during the day tomorrow. I say 7 a.m.
Right.
because 7 a.m.
Okay.
is really the magic time of when you can select your first lightning lane or ride experience attraction through Genie Plus.
Right. Okay. So I was getting ready to ask, well, what if I'm not going to the park until 3? Can I buy it at 2 p.m.? Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Now, your availability of rides and attractions might not be as attractive if you wait until 2 p.m. to
Right.
purchase Genie Plus. So that's why I encourage buy it in the morning. At 7 a.m. is when you can make your first lightning lane selection. So, in Janelle's example, if she's not going to the park until 3 p.m., she could still purchase it prior to 7 a.m. and at 7 a.m. get into the My Disney Experience app and select the ride or attraction that you're interested in and obtain a time at or after 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but yeah, so the takeaway is don't wait. Don't wait to purchase it. Don't be standing in a line and decide to purchase it then either. So, I
That's
mean,
yes.
you'll get the most out of it
Yep.
at
Yeah,
7 a.m.
absolutely. That's right. And again, you're paying money for the service. You want to maximize that investment. As far as that investment goes, the price for Genie Plus will vary based on which park and which part of or time of the year you're at
Right.
in Disney. If you're there Christmas week, you're going to pay premium price for Genie Plus versus being there, say, in September.
Okay.
Now, again, I mentioned this. Each member of your group must have purchased Genie Plus in order to be able to take advantage of it. So if you're a family of four, um, you have to purchase it for all four members of your family. Otherwise, you're going to have some very unhappy family members.
Right. Okay. Do you remember at Christmas time, like what it peaked out at? Do we know the most that Genie Plus has ever cost? Do you remember that?
I
Maybe
want to
35?
I want to say 35 is where it
Okay.
peaked.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, and
Yes.
I feel like we've seen it as low as, but that low price that we saw it at the beginning has never come back. So do you think that there's like an average to it? And I'm looking at it for today, and it's 29 for all of the parks, 29 for Magic Kingdom, and I'm just letting you guys know these prices just to give you what it's like. Epcot is 21, Hollywood Studios is 26, and Animal Kingdom is 18.
Yeah. Now, out of fairness, so today is March 10th.
Hmm.
Today is what I would say day two of unofficial spring
Spring
break.
break.
Now, if you caught us last week on our episode about crowds, we talked about crowd calendars and how to identify when it's busy, when it's not. And we
Right.
talked about the fact that Disney's pricing will dictate whether they anticipate the parks to be crowded or not. The lower the price of a ticket, the less the crowd is. Disney ticket pricing for the month of March on average is about the same as it is for the month of December. So essentially, what Disney is saying is that crowds in spring break time, which is where we're at right now,
Right.
are about the same as crowds during the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's. So translate that to Genie Plus and the price of Genie Plus, you're going to pay that premium price for Genie Plus now as you would the week of Christmas.
Okay. So again, I feel $29, especially if you're going to park hop, that's important too. You want to select the multiple park option and you're going to pay that top price for the $29. So I'm thinking of possibly park hopping. So I have to come up with $29 for every person in my group that wants to be part of the Genie Plus with me.
That's exactly right. And I know again, family of four, it's like, wow, that's over $100 per day for the park hopping Genie Plus option. And yes, you're right, that's a lot. But if you're investing thousands of dollars on your vacation, an
Right.
additional $100 to ensure that you can get extra rides or attractions in your park day, it's probably a very good investment. And one thing we typically recommend, and I know Janelle has talked about this in the past as well, we usually recommend Genie Plus for Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios in particular. Those two parks have either the most rides available or based on the
Mhm.
popularity of the rides, the lines get incredibly long.
Right. Yeah, but I will say I think the other day standing in an hour long, safari safari ride, line, I was ready to purchase the Genie Plus for $17. What is your time worth? And I think for me it goes back to that all of the time. If you have little ones who are not going to be patient, that maybe have 30 minutes in them to stand in a line, and that might be me too, I might be talking about myself. But I mean, after that, what do you do? Like, is your time worth more than what it costs to get your group in there and to move on with your day? And especially, we've talked about this before, and I think we'll always continue to say, if you only have 2 days there and you're trying to maximize your time and what you get done, I do feel like Genie Plus will help you get there and getting everything, the majority, not maybe everything. And again, our disclaimer on this isn't a perfect system, and what we're saying isn't going to be always true because there's so many factors. And we'll go back to the bear in the park, in Magic Kingdom. If you had Genie Pluses, set up for that Genie Plus set up for that day, and you had lightning lanes for Big Thunder, that wasn't going to happen. So there's so many things and factors that come into how this might not, you know, work in your favor. But for the majority of the time, I think if you do your research and you plan ahead and you have everything figured out, you're going to, get the most out of it.
Right. One cautionary note would be don't assume that purchasing Genie Plus is going to allow you to do everything.
Everything.
I,
Yep.
I said this early on. I've been to the parks dozens of times. I still haven't done everything that's there. It's
Right.
just it's not feasible. Now, as far as you mentioning Animal Kingdom and that you probably should have bought it the other day, that goes back to the crowd calendar
Yep.
aspect. And knowing that it is spring break right now, all four of the parks are incredibly busy. So
Yes.
purchasing Genie Plus for Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios is the general notion if you're looking at an entire year's worth of time. If you're talking about specific spring break, Christmas, New Year's, those weeks, Genie Plus is probably the right purchase across all four parks.
Right. And I
So
would say, don't be afraid of it either, because I do think at the beginning, it's a little, I'm not going to say intimidating, but again, everything new, you're like, what am I doing? I will say, all you have to do is ask a cast member. Ask a cast member if you're there and you're just not quite sure. Without fail, they will help you.
absolutely. And not only that, again, you go back to that 7 a.m. purchase. If you're staying on Disney property in the resorts and you purchase it at 7 a.m. and you still have no idea what you're doing, go talk to somebody down at the front desk. They will help you. There are cast members within the resorts that are happy to help you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like hopefully that eases everybody's mind and like, what are they talking about? What am I going to do? I don't even know what this app is, and, hopefully it doesn't scare you too
Right.
much into, saying it's a great feature, and it will help you. So,
Absolutely. So I have this, I'll say silly description of
okay.
Genie Plus. So bear with me, and those that know
Okay.
me know that I'm a little goofy at times. So think of Genie Plus as cable television, a product that you buy and use. It comes with some channels. We'll call those the lightning lanes. But then there are some pay-per-view channels as well. Those are
Okay.
individual lightning lanes, and we'll get into individual lightning lanes here in a little bit. But you can buy the individual lightning lanes with or without Genie Plus. Just like cable, you need to pick a channel at a specific time to watch a show. That would be making that 7 a.m. Genie Plus selection for a lightning lane. With Genie Plus, you book a time slot for a ride to ride with a shorter line. There's still the option for the standby line or stand in line and wait without spending your money. But again, that would be like having an antenna on your roof and you get 3 or 4 television channels versus paying for cable and getting additional channels. Rides like Tron and Guardians of the Galaxies does not have a standby line. They have a whole other thing called virtual queue. That might be another episode. We'll have to dive into that. But everything else has a standby line. Genie Plus is a per person, per day edition option that allows you to access to a shorter wait line, which again is called Lightning Lane. So I kind of like that cable television comparison.
Comparison. Yeah, I don't know. Does cable television even does it exist anymore?
True, you're right. Okay, so
So,
think of it as
for
your favorite
next week,
streaming service.
yes, for next week, everybody, Mike will put it into the terms of streaming.
Yes, right, right, exactly. Maybe I'll have an analogy to the rotary phone at some point too.
If you
All
go
right.
on the carousel of progress.
Yes, exactly. All right, so let's talk. We've said 7 a.m. is that magic time. So I'm at Disney. It's again March 10th. We're going to assume that it's 5 a.m. I just bought Genie Plus. 7 a.m. I'm going to go into the My Disney Experience app and get into the Genie Plus system, and I will select my first attraction or ride. I'll just probably say ride for simplicity's sake. So
Okay.
I'm gonna just give an example of how my day would work. I'm gonna go to the Magic Kingdom. So at 7 a.m., I'm gonna select a ride, a Lightning Lane ride through Genie Plus, and I'm gonna select Peter Pan. And
Okay.
I'm going to get a return time of 12 p.m. So what that means is as early as noon, and really they give you a 5 minute leeway. So 11:55 a.m. until 1 p.m. I can arrive at Peter Pan and get into the Lightning Lane. I will scan either my Magic Band if I have that, or my Apple Watch, or my plastic card if I have that for entry, or I can open up the app on my phone and scan that. That allows me to get into that lightning lane to wait a shorter amount of time to ride Peter Pan. So I made that purchase at 7 a.m. Now, you can only get one lightning lane at a time. So it's important to note that. So I have my ride for Peter Pan at noon. The Magic Kingdom opens at 9 a.m. on my fictitious day here. So I have options to get my next lightning lane.
Okay.
And there's 2 options. I can either get a second lightning lane after I redeem my first one, or after 2 hours of wait time from when I purchased or when I made my first Genie Plus selection. Now, that 2 hour wait time is either from the time of picking it or from the time the park opens.
Opens.
So, in my morning example here, Magic Kingdom opens at 9 a.m. I already have a noon Genie Plus Lightning Lane for Peter Pan. Park opens at 9. At 11 a.m., I've met my 2 hour window. I can make another Genie Plus selection.
Right.
So I'm going to pick Big Thunder Mountain at 2 p.m. Now I have Peter Pan at noon. I have Big Thunder at 2. It's 9 a.m. I've walked into the park. I'm going to go enjoy some of the shorter wait time rides in the standby line. At noon, when I badge into Peter Pan, I've now met the other criteria that allows me to get my next lightning lane, and that is I entered or redeemed an existing lightning lane. So I badge into Peter Pan. I'm still standing in a shorter line, but while I'm in that line, I'm opening up the app and I'm making my next Genie Plus selection for another ride at some point in the day. That is the concept of stacking lightning lanes. I have more than one at any given time, and I continue to build off of that.
Right.
I know I read at the very beginning of our segment here that Disney indicates you can get 2 or 3
True.
attractions per day. If you are Johnny on the spot at 7 a.m. and
Yes.
understanding that 2 hour window and the fact that as soon as you badge in, you will undoubtedly get more than 2 or 3 lightning
Right.
lane attractions in your park day.
So, two things that came to mind whenever you're talking about that. I think the one thing that people get wrong or you misread or just don't understand is the 7 a.m. and then they see the 2 hours and they think 9 o'clock is when I will make my second selection. And they don't read the 2 hours from park open.
That's right.
So at 9 a.m., don't go get on your phone thinking that you can um, get your next lightning lane. But what happens if you did try to go do that? Uh, it You'll go and you'll go through the motions, but then Disney will have the next screen will say your next lightning lane selection cannot be made until, and it will give you a time, and it will
That's
say 11 a.m. So Disney does try to help you in understanding like your timing and when you can do the next one and all of that.
that's right.
So
That's right.
and then I will also go back to say, like, if you might pick 12 o'clock for his first one, and let's just say you get Big Thunder at 10 a.m., park opens at 9, and you went and rode Jungle Cruise and Pirates, and then you're going to go redeem your Big Thunder at 10 a.m. Well, then after you do that, you can select your next one, or you can select something for later in the day. You know, oh, we're going to go have breakfast. Maybe you have Crystal Palace scheduled at 11 a.m., and then you're going to be able to pick something at noon, you know, and then go from there, stack from there.
That's right. And it's a good point about the 2 hour time frame and that 7 a.m. and that doesn't mean 9 a.m. And to add to that, in our example, Magic Kingdom opens at 9 a.m. If you're a Disney resort guest, you get early morning hours 30 minutes early at 8:30 a.m. That does not mean your 2 hour starts at 8:30 a.m. It's at the published park opening for the general public of 9 a.m. that
Yeah,
2 hour window starts.
good point.
And to help yourselves out, set an alarm on your phone. Because inevitably you're going to be enjoying
Yeah,
your park day and time will get away from you. And all of a sudden, it's not 2 hours later, it's 4 hours later, and you've missed two possible lightning lane selections. So set the alarm on your phone so that you don't miss those windows.
that's a good tip.
Absolutely. Now, Janelle, you're really good at this next topic. So I'm going to put the ball in the tee and I'll let you take
Okay.
it. How do you go about modifying a selected lightning lane?
Cool. Okay, so you will have your lightning lane selected, and we'll stick with the 12 o'clock Peter Pan. 12 o'clock Peter Pan. Oh, you know what? At 11 o'clock, you realize we're getting hungry and we really should eat rather than go to Peter Pan. So there's going to be three little dots, and on your lightning lane, you're going to see Peter Pan at 12 o'clock. You're going to click on those and you're going to say you can either cancel it or modify it. You're going to want to modify. And when you hit that modify button, new times are going to pop up. And you can select something that's after, if 12:30 or 1 o'clock pops up, wonderful. um, you have to remember you're modifying on a very popular ride. So when you are modifying on very popular rides, you can might get a much later time because so many Genie Pluses have been purchased and Lightning Lane selected. So select your time that fits your schedule and go from there. But what you can do is that time can come up, and let's just say it said 5:30 and you're like, oh, 5:30, that's kind of late. We're planning on being somewhere else. Just keep refreshing. You can keep refreshing, which is pulling down on that screen, and it will refresh. And not all the time will you get new times to pop up. That 5:30 might keep popping up, but continually refresh, and hopefully a new time will pop up. My number one tip to you is if that time pops up and you're like, "Oh, it says 2:30," hit the button immediately. Do not wait. Do not go to, your sister-in-law who's around the corner that you have to check with her. Don't do it. Just hit the button and then modify again if you need to. Because more than likely somebody else saw that 2:30 and they're doing the same thing that you are doing, and you need to get it very quickly. So modifications can be done. You can actually even try to get a better time than that. Like, say you're like, it's now 10 a.m. and you have your 12 o'clock and you're like, you know what? I really want to try to write it now. Well, you know what? You can sit there and try to refresh and refresh. Hopefully, somebody cancels theirs and it'll pop up. Because if somebody cancels, those times get put back into the queue.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. And so there's really three different options of modify.
Okay. Okay.
Janelle provided the first, and that is modifying the time, your return time for the lightning lane. So that's probably the most prevalent use of modify. The second is maybe I don't want the lightning lane for Big Thunder Mountain anymore. I want to change it to Haunted Mansion. So you can modify and change to a different attraction and see what's available for that attraction. The
Yeah, you're
third
not gonna get to keep your time.
no, no, you
Yeah,
won't. You'll be
yeah,
changing not only the attraction, but the time as well.
right.
We can talk about an example where that might make sense here. The third feature in the modify, and probably isn't used very much at all, is that you can modify the party that you
Mm,
have tied to that lightning lane. Maybe you have Big Thunder Mountain, and Grandma says, I'm not riding that ride. So you can modify and remove her from the lightning lane selection. You might ask, why would I do that? Well, out of the kindness of your heart, that opens up a lightning lane for some other person who might be looking to ride the
right.
ride. So a little bit pixie dust and kindness goes a long ways. So an example of why would I modify to change from one ride to another? And we could probably sit and stew about different ideas, but the one that comes to my mind most prevalently is that, let's say I have Big Thunder Mountain scheduled for noon today, and I happen to be over in that part of the park and I see that the ride is down, it's not operating. So at that point in time, there is no standby line whatsoever. If the stars are all aligned and as you're walking by, the ride just reopens,
Yeah,
no wait time, I'm going to get in that line. And then maybe I want to modify my noon Big Thunder Mountain and try to get a different ride.
right. That's good. That's a good modification.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The standby lines can be your friend, especially at the very beginning of park opening. The example Mike just gave of a ride being down and getting lucky and being able to utilize the standby, but they can be a friend. Yeah. Not always,
Absolutely.
but sometimes.
So there's strategy around Genie Plus and how to best utilize it. Um, that strategy in my mind starts well before purchasing Genie Plus, though. And really, even if you're not buying Genie Plus, the strategy is applicable. You as a family or travel group, whoever you're with, you need to identify what are my must-do attractions. What rides or shows, attractions are my must-dos? Absolutely have to set those in that top tier. What are my like to dos, and what are my if we do it, great. If not, so be it. Once you've done that, now you know which are my rides that I want to look for Genie Plus right out of the chute. So that again, you can maximize your investment and make sure that everybody's happy with the fact that you've ridden the rides or seen the attractions that are most important to you.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. Um, so Genie Plus is a
Okay.
great option to help cut down on your wait time, which is a valuable investment on a vacation, whether it's your once in a lifetime trip to Disney
Yeah.
or you're going to go once every year, whatever the case may be. You want to make the most of your time. As Janelle said early on, what is your time worth?
Right. And the only other thing that I will add to that, as far as um, lightning lane, I think so many people ask us, is it worth it? And we can tell you everything that we know about it. We can tell you we've used it, what we got out of it. But when it comes down to it, it's what is best for you and your family, or you and your situation, you and your vacation. This is your vacation. And so you don't need us to tell you you should get it or you shouldn't get it, or somebody else, because everybody has their own opinion on this. Whether it's Disney making extra money, it's a waste of time. There's so many negatives out there about Genie Plus, just as many positives are out there as well. And if you do your research, there's lots of YouTube videos, lots of just helpful tips out there on how to utilize the whole app and Genie Plus. So
Absolutely. And if you just kind of use a simple example here, and I don't think this example is unrealistic, and Janelle can tell me otherwise, but if you utilize the service, that 7 a.m. selection, the stacking, like we talked about, you can easily get 6 lightning lanes in an entire park day.
I
And
agree.
I'm going to really undersell this part. Let's assume each of those 6 saves you 10 minutes wait time in line. And
Hmm.
Janelle will tell you some rides you're saving 20, 30, 40 minutes of wait time.
Right,
Not, but we'll just go 10. I just saved me one whole hour of my park day with that purchase.
right,
So again, what is your time worth? That one whole hour is probably one or two additional attractions that I wouldn't have gotten to otherwise.
right, right.
So think of it in terms of that. And again, if we were to go across all of the rides at the Magic Kingdom and how much time Lightning Lane saves versus standby, it's probably on average closer to 20 minutes. If
Yeah.
you take into consideration the shorter waits like Small World and the longer waits like Big Thunder Mountain, Jungle Cruise, Peter
Hmm.
Pan, those rides, you're saving it probably on average at least 20 minutes. That might even be conservative. So
Yeah.
you can really, in that example, that's 2 hours of savings.
Yeah. I agree. And that could be your lunches and your snacks and or a parade, even friendship fair, viewing, any of
Absolutely.
those things, all those things that you want to fit in. This day isn't just about rides. And, again, they even have a lightning lane for the Festival of Fantasy parade. So, you know,
Yep, and Janelle, you actually teed that up. That was the next thing I was gonna answer. I have
look at that.
every ride or attraction at all 4 parks that Genie Plus is available for Lightning Lane selection. So I'll just go through these quickly,
Okay.
and that'll help piggyback onto the next topic on
Okay.
this. So at the Magic Kingdom, so first off, Magic Kingdom has the most rides and attractions of all 4 parks. So
Okay.
this list is going to be a lot more extensive than the other 4, but it's in terms of how many rides and attractions, they're all relatively the same. So Big Thunder Mountain, Buzz Lightyear, Festival of Fantasy Parade, Janelle mentioned that. Dumbo. Enchanted Tales with Belle. That's an attraction, not a ride. Haunted Mansion. It's a Small World. Jungle Cruise. The Teacups. Character meet and greets, meeting Ariel, meeting Cinderella, meeting Mickey Mouse, meeting Tiana and other princesses in Princess Fairy Tale Hall. All meet and greets that can help save time and waiting. And most times, people waiting for those character meet and greets have littles with them. So
Yeah.
saving some time saves you some sanity as well as a parent.
Right.
I've been there, trust me. Mickey's PhilharMagic. It's a 3D show. It's wonderful. The Laugh Floor, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, another attraction. Peter Pan, Pirates of the Caribbean, Space Mountain, Barnstormer, Aladdin's Magic Carpets, Winnie the Pooh, Tomorrowland Speedway, and then Little Mermaid Ride. Those are all attractions or rides at Magic Kingdom that Genie Plus provides options for Lightning Lane service.
Okay.
Quite a few. If we jump over to Epcot, the Disney and Pixar short films, Frozen Ever After, which is an incredibly popular ride. That wait time hits an hour pretty quickly. Imagination with Figment, Living with the Land, both Mission Space Green and Mission Space Orange, Remy's Ratatouille, Soarin' Around the World, Spaceship Earth, Test Track, The Seas with Nemo, and then Turtle Talk with Crush, which is again is a little show attraction, not a ride. So
Okay.
some great options there at Epcot. Jumping over to Hollywood Studios, and again, we had mentioned earlier on that we always recommend Genie Plus for Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios in particular. We talked about if it's crowded, the other two parks are prevalent as well. So at Hollywood Studios, Alien Swirling Saucers, Beauty and Beast, the live stage show, again, an attraction, not a ride. Disney Junior Play and Dance, a real fun interactive thing with littles. The Frozen Sing Along, another show at Hollywood Studios with Elsa and Anna and the cast.
Hmm.
Indiana Jones Stunt Show, an amazing show. Again, not a ride though. The opportunity to meet Olaf is a Genie Plus Lightning Lane
Yeah.
select option. Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway. That's another very attractive, brand new-ish ride,
Hmm.
newest ride at Hollywood. Smuggler's Run is another Lightning Lane option. This next one is Janelle's favorite, and she knows probably already what I'm going to say. Muppet Vision 3D.
Oh, it's a must do.
Actually, um, the Rock and Roller Coaster ride is another Lightning Lane option. Slinky Dog Dash. This ride gets incredibly long wait
Yes.
time, 45 minutes plus on any day, busy or not. Star Tours, Tower of Terror, and then Toy Story Mania are all options at Hollywood Studios for Lightning Lanes with Genie
Yes.
Plus. And then last, over to Animal Kingdom. Again, both rides and attractions here, starting off with Festival of the Lion King, my favorite daytime show at all of the Walt Disney World parks. Dinosaur, that ride there. Everest, Mount Everest there, that again is a great ride. Those wait times can grow as well because of the popularity of that ride. The Feathered Friends in Flight show, again, not a ride, but a show. We've actually enjoyed that with Janelle before. It's very fun. Kids love that with the birds. The Finding Nemo show inside the auditorium there, another great show, almost Broadway-like type show. You can use Lightning Lanes for that. It's Tough to Be a Bug, the show underneath the Tree of Life. Cali River Rapids. That's a good one when it's middle of summer and you're there and you want to cool off. That's a great ride and a great use of the Lightning Lane. Janelle mentioned this one earlier on that she experienced last week with a long wait, and that was Kilimanjaro Safaris.
Yeah.
That is always one of the crown jewel rides at Animal Kingdom. Meeting the pals at the outpost. Again, meet and greets can help save you time with your littles. Navi River ride in the Avatar area at Animal Kingdom. And then the animation experience over at the conservation station is another option where you can use Lightning Lane.
Yes.
So those are all of the attractions that you can utilize Genie Plus and secure a lightning lane for to help save the amount of time you're waiting in line. You might be thinking to yourself, there were some rides you didn't mention, and why didn't you mention them? So we're going to talk about those. And this is where we're going to kind of flip the switch from Lightning Lane with Genie Plus to individual Lightning Lane. Frankly, I wish they'd have named them differently so there wasn't such similar. At Magic Kingdom, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is not a Genie Plus option, but you can purchase an individual Lightning Lane. We'll talk about what that means here in a minute. And then Tron is the second ride at Magic Kingdom that is not a part of Genie Plus, but you can purchase an individual Lightning Lane for that. At Epcot, Guardians of the Galaxy, probably most people's favorite ride at all four of the parks, is not available on Genie Plus. You can purchase an individual Lightning Lane for it. At Hollywood Studios, I think my favorite ride would be Rise of the Resistance. Whether you're a Star Wars fan or not, that's a 10 to 15-minute ride experience. You cannot use Genie Plus for it, but you can purchase individual Lightning Lane. And then lastly, at Animal Kingdom, this again is a lot of people's absolute favorite attraction. Um, Flight of Passage over in Avatar.
Mhm.
That is again another one. Genie Plus is not an option, but you can purchase an individual Lightning Lane for that.
Okay.
So what the heck is individual Lightning Lane?
Oh, so it's a lightning lane that you have to purchase separately from Genie Plus. So, and just to give you an example, because I gave examples earlier about how much Genie Plus costs for the day, I want to give you an example of what it costs for today as well if I was going to go. So I just went into the my Disney Experience app. I went to the search magnifying glass and I put in Seven Dwarves Mine Train. So you can go if that's how you want to purchase it, just go straight to the ride in the app. You don't have to go through anything else. Just go and it'll say Lightning Lane on there, and you'll click it, and it will come up. And I'm a little surprised by the price today. Do you want to take a stab at how much it costs to ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train? And your window would start. I mean, it's relatively, quick to get on this if I purchased it right now.
I'll take a stab in the dark at $24.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought it would have been. I'm going to let you know to ride Tron is $20 today.
Okay.
It's only $12 to
Oh,
ride Mine Train today, and I that's shocking to me because I have done this purchase one time for my daughter and I a couple years ago, right when Genie Plus had come out, and I want to say I paid like $18 for each of us, and I rode the ride, and I was very sad that I had spent my $18. Um, I was, and I can tell you, why, because I don't want to deter anybody, which is it's a very short ride and we had ridden it several times, and so I'm like, why did we do that? But if you've never ridden the ride and it is very important to somebody, by all means, please, pay the $12, even if it's just you and somebody else or the two people that really want to do it. I mean, I like that that allows you to do that. Not everybody has to go on it. If everybody's like, I don't want to do that, you can just send the people that, spend the money on that one ride and let those people go and do it.
that's right. So as far as individual Lightning Lane purchases go, there are some rules wrapped around that. If you are staying on property in a Disney resort, you can purchase your individual Lightning lanes starting at 7 a.m. on the day of your park day. If you are a non resort guest, you're staying at the Holiday Inn or you're a local, you can purchase your individual Lightning lanes when the park opens. So that's another important distinction. The most popular rides, Tron would be an example, Guardians would be an example, especially when they first opened. Individual lightning lanes were being gobbled up pretty quickly, starting at 7 a.m. by resort guests, and there were little to no individual lightning lanes available for non-resort guests at park open. So again, if you're a resort guest, you can make your individual lightning lane purchases starting at 7 a.m. And then if you're a non-resort guest, when the park opens is when you can purchase your individual lightning lanes. You do not have to have Genie Plus in order to
Oh,
purchase an individual lightning lane. They are two very distinct services. One does not require the other. And individual lightning lanes, again, are not available on Genie Plus. So if
yeah,
your desire in your trip is to ride Guardians of the Galaxy, and ensure that you get to ride Guardians of the Galaxy, you want to make sure that you're purchasing an individual lightning lane for that ride.
right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, just what I want to circle back to the rides that have lightning lanes, and that we didn't mention all the rides in Magic Kingdom, but I feel like we should say that the one ride Mike didn't mention was the People Mover, and it does have it doesn't have a lightning lane. I'm
Mhm.
thinking of Das.
Nope, it does not.
Yeah.
Yeah, the People
Yeah.
Mover, which is the ride in Tomorrowland that's up above on
Yeah.
the track.
Okay.
Carousel of Progress, I did not mention that one. It does not have Lightning Lane as well. Those two come to my mind.
Astro Orbiter doesn't either.
Uber does not. The Tiki Room does
Yeah.
not.
So
There are certain attractions that the only option is standby line. Now, the ones we just mentioned, typically those waits
are really short. Okay.
are short. So there's really no need for the individual lightning lane through, or I'm sorry, lightning lane through Genie Plus for some of those attractions.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So again, if you caught episode one or series one of crowds, the last episode we talked about crowd calendars, crowds, how to best manage crowds, and today's topic was really expanding on how to manage crowds and get the most out of your vacation, which is Genie Plus. That service to allow you to stand in shorter wait time lines. And we use that example where you could save an hour or 2 hours of a park day with Genie Plus. And then individual lightning lanes is the way to purchase a guaranteed ride on what are typically the most popular rides at each of the four parks at Walt Disney World.
Okay. And I think, in the future, we're going to figure out what our next topic is. But more than likely, I think we'll go towards maybe rope dropping and that strategy, and then being able to put both of these together, Genie Plus with a rope drop strategy, or staying at the park late strategy, and then bringing those two together and making the most of your day with those two
Yep,
options.
that's exactly right. That rope drop, I think, will be part three of our crowd series.
Yep. Okay. Well, so I think that's a wrap for today. Do you have anything else that you need to add?
I think we're good. I think we covered
Okay.
all our notes.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And if you haven't done so already, um, Mike and I are both on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. And I'm Disney Parks with Love across the board. And Mike, how are you? How are you on each one of those?
Boy, that's a great question. So I am, for the most part, I'm Mike underscore Disney Travel. I think you can find me that way. I got to work on some consistency across there. I'm not
Okay,
as sharp
okay,
as Janelle on that, but we'll get there.
okay. But Mike Apgar or Mike Disney Travel, if you're looking for any of that. And in the description of these uh, Spotify podcasts and YouTube, the description and links are everywhere. You can just click on them and you can find Mike's information and my information, and it's all out there. So I don't think it's very hard to find us. All right, you guys, thank you for being here. That's a wrap for today, and we will see you next time.
Great.
Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.